Welcome to episode 381 of the Postal Hub podcast. I'm Ian Kerr. Why is out-of-home delivery popular in Norway? And can parcel lockers work in the freezing cold? Well, joining me in a moment is Håvard Femtehjell. Håvard is head of Parcel Locker Development at Posten Bring, the Norwegian postal operator. We're going to discuss all that and more. Håvard is one of the many expert speakers appearing at Parcel and Post Expo this year. Go to parcelandpostexpo.com for more information about this year's event, which is being held in Amsterdam from the 21st to the 23rd of October. So, coming up in just a moment, Håvard Femtehjell from Posten Bring. Joining me on the line is Håvard Femtehjell. Håvard is head of Parcel Locker Development at Posten Bring. Håvard, welcome to the Postal Hub podcast. We're going to talk about out-of-home delivery and parcel lockers, very much in the Norwegian context, shall we say. Let's just set the scene. Can you share with us an overview of Posten's out-of-home delivery network, whether it's post offices, PUDOs, parcel lockers, or whatever options you've got out there?
Yeah. The big picture is that in Norway we have 3,800 points, 1,600 manned points run by third parties, and 2,100 parcel locker locations. And there's a bit of an overlap, but not a lot. And I think what we did, and it's important to understand, is that we made the parcel locker rollout as an addition to the man points. So a lot of customers or consumers still have parcel lockers as their closest and easiest way to pick up parcels. But we rolled out the parcel lockers to get closer to more people.
So would you describe Posten, or would you describe Norway, I beg your pardon, would you describe Norway as a traditional out-of-home delivery country? That is, people, even prior to parcel lockers, were people receiving their parcels via out-of-home delivery methods rather than delivery to their doorstep?
Yeah, I think that is the traditional way, and we're perhaps with the Swedes the only countries who's been doing this. 15 years ago, we had 98% of consumer parcels to be picked up at man points. That would be post offices and third-party PUDOs. And now it's changed a lot. We've doubled the volumes for the manned lockers. Then we introduced the parcel lockers. But we've also had a big explosion of what we call mailbox delivery, with small packets delivered to your mailbox together with your mail. And that is nearly half the volume now.
So when you're talking about those small packets being delivered to the mailbox, that might be the postie who's going out in a Posten vehicle, delivering letters. They have the space and the capacity now. So is that, and they're able to deliver the small letters. They're able to deliver the small packets. Is that right?
Yeah. And they also do we'd only do the mail every second day now. So they would also do sort of separate packet runs the other days for the urban areas where you get very good density and very high efficiency on the last mile.
Now, you mentioned about partner-operated PUDO points or parcel pickup points. How does that relationship work? Do you just partner with whoever's available? Do you partner with, say, a supermarket chain or with a retail chain? How do you go about managing that relationship or creating that pickup point relationship?
Well, it started with us having to save a lot of money. The post offices were too expensive. So we partnered with first one strategic partner, which is a big sort of collection of grocery brands. And then 15 years ago or something like that, we diversified into more and several brands. I would say almost everything is with the grocery stores. Norway is a country where the small tobacco stores and kiosks have gone bankrupt. And we have a lot of electric cars, so there's not a lot of gas stations around. They are also closing. So we're partnering with the grocery stores. And I think we have some obligations to have a good service network for everyone in Norway, which gives us sort of some singular points where there's only one possible supplier. But in many places, they compete for the business. And we're quite happy to move sort of the points, not every year, but every few years between different stores.
What about parcel lockers? Do you have any partnerships with other retailers to find locations for parcel lockers? Because that's a struggle for a lot of delivery companies, is finding the right spots to locate those parcel lockers. So how are you approaching that?
We have sort of separate teams working on the parcel locations, but we work together with the people working on the PUDOs. And then we have partnerships with retail stores, which have a lot of good locations, especially when you get sort of in the semi-rural areas and the suburbs. And also some of the grocery stores, they think that parcel PUDOs are too difficult and complicated. They want to be good at being stores, grocery stores. So but I think they have some gray space outside where they think that our lockers give them a good foot traffic.
And that's a really interesting point about a retailer focusing its priorities on its core business, but still seeing a role for parcels in that parcel locker sense rather than being a pickup point. One of the questions I always have when I talk to people from, let's say, colder countries is how do parcel lockers perform in an environment where there's snow, where there's ice, where there are sub-zero temperatures? If I understand correctly, some of your network is inside the Arctic Circle. So how do you find parcel locker performance in those cold conditions, or do you just try to put them inside?
We have a few locations, but it's a handful out of more than 2,000 locations where we have moved them inside because it was too cold outside. And perhaps the problem is taking off your glove more than the lockers working. But cold is not the biggest problem. We have sort of tried to buy lockers that are fairly good in the cold, but it's those freeze-thaw cycles which are, with the climate changes, are getting more and more rapid. So you get cold but humid air that are glazing the lockers, or at least the locks, and then they freeze and they thaw and then they freeze again. So one of the things we do is that we actually have moved a few locations away from rivers and waterfronts to get them into sort of slightly drier areas. A few hundred meters usually does the trick. But when we get those sort of big cycles with rain and freezing and rain and freezing, our customer service get sort of more traffic. But still, it's usually only a few days that I would think of as problematic each year.
Let's talk about delivery preferences then for Norwegian consumers. You mentioned at the outset about how traditionally Norway could be perceived as an out-of-home delivery country, if I can put it like that, yeah. And that the range of out-of-home delivery options has evolved over time. Have you seen that evolution of out-of-home delivery options change the consumer delivery preferences? Or consumers have they not changed despite the proliferation of delivery options?
I think we see that when you get sort of the very clear cases, we obviously depend on the checkout with the e-commerce retailers as well. But when you look at the very clear cases, and we have a good volume on that, we see that almost half of people choosing out-of-home delivery choose parcel lockers and not demand points, which probably is a bit about preference for sort of lockers per se. But the other point, which is perhaps not very easy to sort of analytically divide, is closeness. The parcel lockers are for many people closer. I think we have in Oslo, the capital, we've moved from 25% of household having less than 500 meters to a pickup point, and now we have 60% of household that has less than 500 meters to pick up the parcels. So that would be sort of a massive increase within your sort of daily perimeter, and also within what you're walking.
How about the competitive landscape then? You've got Posten being the established national postal operator with probably hundreds of years of experience. What are you seeing in terms of competition at the moment in the last mile? Are there small startups? Are there global delivery behemoths coming in? How would you characterize the competitive nature of the last mile, especially when it comes to out-of-home delivery in Norway?
Yeah, I think the last mile in Norway, what we worked a lot with 8 years ago with sort of the home delivery revolution, with sort of the apps and sort of where everyone was telling when they were coming with your parcel. It really didn't happen in that way in Norway. There were some startups, I think at least one of them are sort of livable. I think they seem to be fairly sustainable, and we have our own operation, but it's fairly small. What happened for the home delivery side is that we have two networks. We have the newspaper delivery, who takes a lot of packets, and then we have our posties, who takes a lot of packets. For the out-of-home delivery, we have had for 20 years at least PostNord, the Swedish and Danish postal actor, having a big retail network, and they are also rolling out parcel lockers with what, from my perspective, seems to be pretty much the same strategy that we have in the Nordics. And then we have Instabox, which is a Swedish. It's a $1 billion company. It's not a startup anymore. But they are rolling out large indoor parcel lockers, which, in my opinion, is competing more with our manned service point than with our parcel lockers, because they sort of establish core capacity with sort of a little less density, I think.
We are getting close to peak season, which is where reputations are made or ruined, you might say, when it comes to the delivery world. And you've mentioned about the extent of the out-of-home delivery network. And one of the things that we often talk about when it comes to parcel lockers and Pudo points is how do we get those parcels moving quickly so that they're delivered to the out-of-home delivery point, but then collected as quickly as possible. Have you got any strategies or any techniques or any promotions that you can share with us that Posten has run over the years to help drive that quick collection of parcels by consumers?
Annoyment? We try to.
I'm sure the customer gets annoyed on their own not picking up the parcel, but some customers don't want to straight away. Yeah,
we're annoying people more during peak season. We try to be sort of happy, not too chatty, using our app to communicate that the parcels are ready, and then during peak season there are more push notifications with the app, and there are more SMSs, and we really drive down the dwell times, which is sort of immediately transferred into more capacity. The other thing we actually do, and I think sort of this is people on the ground being sort of good at their job, is that we have a fixed capacity. Demand is much bigger than supply. And then they use the capacity twice a day. You do a morning run, and then you do sort of early evening run, and you get more parcels picked up, and you can use the same capacity. You also do Saturday runs and Sunday runs for the peak season, which we normally doesn't do. So I think on the best, some would say the worst day, last year, I think we had 25% of the network had more than 100% utilization, which is sort of well above theoretical capacity.
That's a good news story, really, isn't it? If you've been able to encourage people to collect their parcels so quickly that you can use the asset twice a day, I mean, that's almost like the dream of a parcel locker network manager. So the core message there is make sure you can communicate to the consumer in the first place and remind them over and over, collect your parcel. Yeah. Collect your parcel. And don't leave it there until Christmas Eve. Yeah.
Help your neighbor. Pick up your parcel so there's room for her parcel.
You'll be presenting at Parcel and Post Expo, which is being held in Amsterdam later in October. And so anybody who wants to find out more about Posten's out-of-home delivery network, the Norwegian delivery scene, well, you can go and see Håvard's presentation at Parcel and Post Expo. Go to parcelandpostexpo.com for more details, and you'll be able to have a chat with not just Håvard, but all the other experts who will be there at Parcel and Post Expo this year. Håvard Femtehjell from Posten Bring, thank you very much for joining us on the Postal Hub podcast today.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Coming soon on the Postal Hub podcast, we've got leaders from CTT and POS Malaysia and many more. Make sure you don't miss a single episode. Subscribe to the Postal Hub podcast on your favourite podcast platform, be it Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Amazon Music or any of the others. And while you're subscribing, please do leave a rating. 5-star rating, perhaps. That would be nice. And if you can leave a review, some of them let you leave reviews. I don't know why, but if you can leave a review, that'd be lovely too. I mean, a nice review, obviously. You know, how this podcast has changed your life for the better and so on and so forth. Anyway, if you want to email me about anything at all, my email address is ian@thepostalhub.com. I'm Ian Kerr. Thanks for listening in, and I look forward to your company next time on the Postal Hub podcast.